Welcome back to the lab. That's right, the March is on the hoist. That's right, I've taken it apart again. Seems to happen a lot, doesn't it? Let's have a look at what I'm up to. That's right, I've pulled the sump off it again. Now, there's a couple of things going on in here. First of all, starting at the bottom, after measuring up the oil pickup using datum points and all that sort of stuff to figure out where it sits in the bottom of the pan here, I just had a feeling it was just a bit too close to the pan to get good oil flow into the pickup. And looking at the logs, it does show at higher RPM there appears to be some discrepancies going on. There's some funny little patches where, you know, you might expect the oil pressure to be relatively stable and does a funny little dip every now and then for no apparent reason. It'll be to do with G-forces on the track and stuff. Pushing our luck running a wet sump on this car, to be honest, but we'll persevere in the meantime in the name of budget. So what I've done there is, just for now, I've made a 4mm spacer. They won't increase the volume by a significant amount. Well, we could probably do the maths if we really felt like doing it, but you know, you're only dealing with 4mm over an area of, I don't know, a couple hundred square millimeters or whatever it is there. So it's not a lot. It's a spoonful or two of extra oil, but it just gives it more clearance. Another 4mm down at the bottom where the oil pickup is may help with oil flow into the pickup if that is a problem. It may or may not be, but we will see. The next thing that was happening, of course, adding thickness there, I had to make new bolts and all that sort of stuff because they're custom sized bolts. So there you go, pain in the brain. Next thing up happening is, this is the flywheel end of the engine. This is the sump end of the engine here. This is the original factory girdle for the main bearing caps. And this is the original windage tray that they run on these motors. The idea being the motor's spinning around this way, and any oil that's flying off your conrods and your crank and all that sort of carry on goes through these little louvers into the bottom of the sump. This is upside down, obviously. This goes the other way up. And it tries to stay there. And all this rest of the stuff here stops the wind. That's why it's called a windage tray. You can imagine a crankshaft spinning at 7,500 RPM, whizzing around inside there. It'll develop quite a bit of windy stuff and things. So with our aftermarket girdle that we have in the car, in the engine, there's no provision to fit this. You simply can't. It just does not fit. There's no bolt holes. The girdle is much, much higher. This one here, obviously, the highest point is the mating face for the washers and the nuts and everything. On the girdle that's in the car, we may be able to see it, probably not. This face here is so high that the nuts are completely recessed into the girdle. So this ends up coming this way so far that it interferes with everything in the actual sump, so it simply doesn't fit in the car. I've come up with a solution for that. We'll wander over here in my mess and we'll grab the torch. Look at the mess. Sawdust. Capture all the mess as it's falling down. Up in there, yes, you can see that. This right here, custom windage tray, built by me. That's something you can't buy. That's something I've made. You can see it's got the provisions for the ends of the studs. Had to make clearance for those to fit in there. So hopefully with that in there, you can actually see just in front of the stud that's to the right hand side there, and actually to the left a little bit as well, in front of both those studs, so I can hold the camera in the right spot. There we go. You'll see there's some veins in the bottom of the sump, and they're a curved arrangement. They start over here and they curve around like that. So as all the air and everything's blowing, I can't show you because I'm using the wrong hand, the air's blowing that way off the end of the crankshaft and everything. It curves it all and blows it towards the main bowl, which is this whole area here. And this is the oil pickup. I was just a bit concerned we only had 2 or 3 millimeters of clearance across here, which is probably not enough, but it may have been drawing enough oil from the sides. So now we've got 5-6 millimeters there. So that's more better, hopefully. Quite a job to pull the sump off this car, as you can imagine. You've got to take the whole subframe out, and it tends to make a big mess on the floor. This is why there's sawdust there. Hopefully when I clean up the sawdust, the mess will be gone. Right, so over here I'm about to stick these, well, I'm about to clean that, put the sealant on it, and we'll put it all back together. I thought I'd better just show you what's happening inside, because we won't be able to see that soon. Right, very boring video. It's all back together. Run it up for a little bit, no leaks, brought it up to operating temperature, or thermostat temperature basically, which is about 73 degrees, I think it is. It'll say on here 72 degrees according to that. That had been running for, what's this, 6 minutes, 10 seconds at that point in time. You can see oil pressure along the bottom there. It's actually accurate enough to read all the little wriggle-roggles from it idling there. You can see that the engine speed was not 100% stable. Each line, vertical line that you're seeing there, there's 10 seconds in between them, so it was just idling away. But oil pressure, very good at idle. Oil temp not fully up to operating temp, but you know, 6 minutes idling away. If I zoom back out of that, you can see it starts off significantly higher oil pressure and slowly tapers away. So this is going to need to be tested at the track. Obviously I can't rev the heck out of it here at home without annoying neighbours. I gave it a few little revs there to warm it up a little bit. You can see I only took it to 2,500. I'm not going to be able to buzz this thing away at 7,500 RPM at home here, because that will result in noise police turning up probably. Haven't had that yet for the race car. Might happen one day. So we'll find another track day somewhere, hopefully Hampton Downs. It's my favourite track, and we'll get out there and we'll just see where we're at with all this stuff, whether there are any changes based on what I've just done there with the same oil. Hopefully we can find a day that's similar air temp, etc., and see where we're at. That's that done. Oh, I need to put the under tray on, stuff like that, whatever. And if we don't get the turbos for this soon, I'm going to put the engine crane ready to go. See, I'm going to drop that in there and start dealing with the spaghetti, some changes that we're going to make with the spaghetti, because we don't need the turbos on there for that. I'd rather wait until the turbos are here and assemble all that and then put it in. In theory it won't have to come back out, but that might not work out that way. It might be a drop it in, do all that, pull it back out to put the turbos on. Very good. Okay. Oh, look, it is way past knock-off time. All right. Cheers, bye.